Hi guys, welcome back again to another Flutter tutorial, and in this session we'll be dealing with a new kind of stuff. What I have built over here is a simple countdown timer. So if I just click on the start timer button, then you could see the countdown timer has get started, and I have just hard coded the values. That is approximately I have set the timer as 2 minutes, and here you could see this is the minutes and this is the seconds, and it's keep decrementing. And at the top what you could see here is the 2 minutes in terms of seconds, so it is just decrementing, and 92 seconds is just left out. And here you could see the stop timer button. If I click on that, then the timer gets resetted, and all the minutes as well as the seconds will just move on to 0. If I click again, then it starts from counting from 2 minutes. Okay, and basically for developing this I have made use of simple container precisely. So these LED strips what you see here is everything is a container where I have just specified the particular color of that containers as some kind of white and the remaining as gray. Okay, so for displaying one I will be setting this container and this container color as white, and then setting the remaining set of containers as gray. Similarly for 2, 3 and so on till 9. For toggling the particular container color to resemble the number, I have just made use of simple logic what we will be discussing shortly. Okay, and with this basic idea, now let's just enter into the coding part. Okay, and now before just skipping on to the coding stuff directly, I will just show you some simple hierarchy of how I have just developed this logic. Okay, here the home screen is what we'll be just writing down the entire logic of the countdown timer. So I'll be just moving on to the remaining set of dart files and coming, and will come to this home page at the last. Okay, and this minutes 10th dot file is this one, and similarly this is the unit file, and this is the seconds 10th dot file, and this is the seconds unit dot file. Okay, so we'll be having four set of dot files which will be representing the particular number. Okay, in terms of minutes as well as seconds. So let me start with the minutes 10th dot file. Okay, here I'll just let me just discuss this one for now, and the remaining set will be same, or it will be resuming same as that of this one. So I said before, this LED strip is actually a container with a height of approximately 2.5 and width as 50 pixels. Okay, so based on the simple conditions, I will be just providing the color for the container as white or else gray. Okay, and this container is actually this one, and for making to develop this set of some containers, I'll be just having making use of this transform dot translate as well as this transform dot rotate functions. Okay, so basically the container would be same. See here the width and height and almost the container is the same, just change in the translate and rotate function. Okay, for making this container to be placed in this direction, I'll be just rotating it in a clockwise 90-degree. For that I'll be using rotate function. Similarly, to make this container move from this to this end, I'll be making use of this translate function. Okay, and this translate function will be taking the offset, which is this 30 and 30 denotes the dx and dy values. The dx is nothing but the x-axis. That is, I just want this container to be placed somewhat right, moving right at 30 pixels. Okay, and similarly it should just move down 30 pixels. For that I have just specified the offset as 30 30, and this container is actually this one. Okay, we have just discussed this container and this container. Now let me move on to this one. This is what I have just highlighted here, where I will be not using any rotate function since it is same as that. Just make use of the translate to move a bit down. So we don't have the dx value. Let me set that as 0 because we are not going to move it in any way in the x direction, just the y direction we need. So I'll be just setting it as 57 pixels down. Okay, similarly this one resembles the consecutive set of containers. Okay, and this dot file actually denotes this number. This dot file actually corresponds to any number that is being displayed in this set of single digit. Okay, and I have just made use of 4 set of such dot files to just mimic or just to uh, display particular number on each set of digits. Okay, and the next thing is the led dart file, and in this dart file I have just specified the values. So this value is nothing but basically this 1 and 0 denotes whether to turn on or turn off. In our case, whether to make that container to be a white color or else a black color. So 1 denotes the container color should be white, and 0 denotes the container color should be gray or black, whatever. Okay, this 0 is if the number, that is the countdown number, if it counts to something 0, then we need to have the container color for the outer, that is the outer containers, everything we need to set the color as white except the container what we have at the middle. So we will be setting that particular container color as allowed 0. Set that container value is 0, so it is actually getting that value color is gray. Okay, so the order would be like first, second, third, fourth, this is the fifth, sixth and seventh container. Okay, so this container actually correspond to the third index, so we get 0 at the third one. Similarly for 1, we'll be having, or we just need to turn on two set of numbers, two set of containers, this and this. So we'll be having that two particular container color as 1 and so on. We'll be just having the same till 9. Okay, and in the prospect, the dependency what you need to have is this one, the countdown dependency. Okay, this is the only dependency what we need to have for this particular app. Okay, and this is just a brief intro of the hierarchy and the dependency what we need to have. And with this idea, let us move on to the coding stuff. Now let us start building the app. Okay, first let me just define few set of variables what we will be making use of in the later part. Okay, and the first is the duration, which is the most important in a timer. Okay, now let me just define that. This duration, and the duration will be in terms of seconds, and let me give the value as 10. Similarly, then next variable what we have been need is the counter. So this counter is the one that will be just defining as the initial timer, that is the 120 denotes the 2 minutes timer, and then we'll be decrementing this counter value based on which we'll be just toggling that container color. Okay, and another one what we'll be making use of this timer. Okay, and let me do import that. Similarly, the next one is set of, that is the individual values for the minute, tenth as well as the minute unit. I'll be initially setting those as as 0. Okay, and see unit as 0. Okay, And the next is just to show the timer, that is the countdown timer. And for that, let me define a variable which is the show time, that is 120 seconds timer. Okay, this is just a simple stuff that I have just made use of. Next is the Boolean variable. This is just to keep track of whether, that is, the start timer button has been pressed. So if the timer has just started, we just don't want that start timer button to be enabled, and in order to keep track of that, we'll be having, or we'll be making use of this Boolean variable. Okay, and the next one, the first, this is what the function inside this function will be just defining the timer. Okay, this is a start timer function, and inside this function, let me just set the counter value, which is 120 as defined above. Okay, the next is the timer that we have defined above. We just need to initialize that. Okay, timer dot periodic, and it takes the duration as one of the parameter. Okay, this duration is the callback function each time, that is how many, that is the duration gap between the cycling. Okay, I just want that to be in terms of seconds, that is the gap between consecutive cycles, that is 1 second. Okay, the next is the timer, and inside this timer is what we'll be writing the logic. Okay, and the logic would be like, if the counter value, that is counter, that is 120, what we have defined above, this is the counter value is greater than 0. If it is so, what we are checking here is that, that is the timer has not get expired. Okay, if the timer is not expired, then we'll be setting the is button disabled as true. Okay, so the timer has not got expired, so we just no need to enable the button, that is the start timer button, so we'll be just disabling that. Similarly, for each set of cycle, we just need to decrement the counter. Okay, for that I'll be just decrementing the counter. Okay, so at the duration of 1 second, this counter will be getting decremented one by one, and the next thing is the duration we'll be making use of. Okay, in this duration we'll be just defining the duration that is equal to the counter. Okay, and this show time is just append that value. Okay, this is the duration in minutes, followed by, just to have that order. Okay, I just make use of that one. Okay, and similarly the duration dot in seconds. Okay, so the format would be like the minutes followed by the seconds, and in this second we just don't want this second to extend or exceed 60 seconds, 60 value. Okay, for that we be dividing or making use of the modulo operator, and just making or ensuring that the value does not exceed 60. Okay, the seconds value does not go beyond 60. And if you want, you can also print that show timer in the console. Okay, and the next thing is the minutes 10. Okay, we need to get the individual values of each and particular digit, just to pass that value to that particular dart file, okay, and that particular dart file will take care of which container to and get enabled or disabled, okay. And for passing that integer as a parameter, we will be just extracting that particular, say for example, the 10th minute digit, okay. And it is showing the error is, we just need to have bracket, okay. So the duration dot in minutes will be returning two digits, okay, and we need to get the first digit, that is the digit at the 10th place. For that I have just make use of the, I have just divided that using the 10, okay, the specific value the integer 10, and this will be returning double, okay, but what we have specified it as an integer, okay. So to make that as an integer, I will be making use of the floor operator, okay. This floor operator or this floor function, what it is it will be just say for example, if it is 1.5, it won't just it will be just removing that zero point 0.5 and will be just storing it as 1 in this variable, okay. For that I have just used the floor operator, and similarly for minutes unit I will be just copying this, okay. A small change in this one, just need to have the second digit, okay, the digit in the second place. For that, to get that, we just need to have a modulo operator, or we just need to have that one, and we just no need to have the floor, we just need to round off in this case, okay. And similarly for the second tenth duration in terms of seconds, okay. And here, instead of dividing it as before that, we just need to, for seconds I said before, we just make use of the modulo 60 to ensure that the seconds value is 0 to 60, okay. And for that we'll be just make use of this one, we'll just copy for the seconds unit place, this unit, and this time it's modulo 10, okay. And instead of floor it is round off, okay. Now we have just wrote the condition for setting the values if the timer is not if the timer doesn't get expired. If suppose the timer got expired, then at that time we just need to cancel the timer, or we just need to end the timer with the making use of the function timer dot cancel. And we just need to enable that button what we have disabled here, okay. Sorry, we just need to enable this button, okay. Just let me set that value as false. Now let me set that as false and start building the UI now. Okay. Inside the body, let me have a column, and for that column let me just specify the main axis element as main axis element of space arrow would be good, okay. And the first child would be, let me, we need to check for the condition, okay. If the counter is greater than 0, okay, if it is so, then I will be returning a text widget which is countdown timer. This is the text or the wording what we saw at the top. So just simple text widget counting And if you want to display that value, you can also display, okay, the value will be stored in the counter variable, okay, followed by, that is, I'm just checking that the counter value is greater than 0, that is the timer has not got expired, then I will be returning saying or displaying the particular counter or timer value in terms of seconds. Else I'll be just having a custom function to display that the timer has expired. Okay, this function will be just developing shortly. Now if you want to apply styles, it is a plain text, actually the background is also black, so we just need to apply some styling to make the text visible. Okay, so let me apply the style. The style what we will be applying is, first give the color, okay, as green, followed by decoration. If you want that text to be underlined, you can make use of this text decoration, followed by the font size, which is the font size is 25, followed by the font weight, sorry, the font weight, I just want that to be bold, okay, I'm setting that one, okay, so, and don't worry about this one, that will be just developing later on, okay, and the container, followed by the next child is the container, and this container will be taking the child which is the row, okay, you say this row is what will be just specifying the led stripes or the containers what we said before, okay, and let me set the main axis element as main axis element of space evenly, okay, here we just need to call on that particular data file alone, and that's enough. In our case it's my minute 10th, followed by the parameter what we need to pass is the minute 10th, okay, and this data file will just convert or just uh, grab this particular parameter, and based on this integer value that particular container or corresponding container will be turned as yellow, white or gray, okay, the color of that particular container will be changing accordingly. And the next is minute unit, I think, and the parameter what you need to pass is the minute unit, okay, and with this we just end up creating 2 minutes digit, and we need to have some kind of separation, that is a colon, and for that let me create a container, and we specify the height for the container as a fixed one. The height would be 150, followed by the child, okay, so it's okay. The child for the container would be a line, that is I just want that to be at the bottom, alignment as alignment dot bottom center, and for this align the child would be the text widget, okay, text widget is the colon, and if you want to apply styles you can just copy this one just for the time sake, okay, just paste it, instead of green you can have it as white, okay, now small change in this one, I just don't want this underline, okay, because of this the UI is not getting rendered, so let me quickly just build that function, okay, the function will be returning a widget, okay, the function name is And the widget what will be returning is a simple text widget. Okay, if you want you can also place that and turn it operated itself. Just created a custom function. Okay, time completed. And if you want to apply style, okay, style is here. Okay, just copy that styling alone. And it is so okay. Okay, great. Now let us just build the remaining set of digits, which is the seconds. Okay, my seconds and the digit, and the parameter what we will be taking is seconds 10. Okay, similarly my seconds unit, and the parameter it is the seconds unit. Okay, this will be having the value. Okay, followed by, now we just need to develop that two buttons, which is the start timer and end timer. Okay, and let me just quickly build that buttons. Say this container is what we'll be having that one. Okay, this container, let me specify the width as double dot infinity. Okay, this just for having the two buttons to be enclosed inside a container. Okay, I will be having a row, and inside this row the children widget is on the button. Okay, and the main axis alignment for that row is specify as center. Okay, and the first child for that container or that row, this is the raised button, and inside it on press I just need to have a simple conditions or checking that condition whether the button is disabled or not. If it is not disabled or it is false, then you just need to have, or we just need to start the timer. Okay, or I will be setting the on press as null. Okay, followed by the on press event, the child for that button, which is the text what we need to have inside that button, which is timer. Okay, if you want to set the elevation you can also set it as 10. Okay, similarly you just need to create another set of button for stopping the timer. Stop timer, and here also just need to create a custom function, or we just need to call a custom function which is set count 0. Sorry, it's more meaningful, set the counter 0, and need to just develop that inside this one. Okay, this function will be just setting or resetting the counter value, that is as counter as 0, followed by we also need to just set this minutes, unit, minutes, tenth, everything as 0, so then we'll be able to visualize that in the UI. For that we manually set that value as 0 whenever the reset button is pressed. Okay, then with this we just end up creating the UI as well as the functionality. Okay, now let's just test this app. If I click on the start timer, that start timer button just disappears and the stop timer just enables. Similarly, the countdown timer, the seconds we can see here, and the countdown timer is also decrementing as expected. 42, 41, 40, 39, followed by 38. Okay, it's going good. Let me check the start timer. Okay, it's also working fine. And all right, everything is working fine. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.